my aching back.
He's not that old. He's just, maybe this is like the most extended DOMS ever from Ironman Wisconsin is like the delayed onset muscle soreness for Mike, it sounds like. But it's a rainy, cool fall day here in Norville Park, Kansas. This is September 23rd. The year, it's 2025. Welcome, everybody. You listen to the Crushing Iron podcast. This is episode 878.
Yeah. I mean, I got a spinal cord sleeping injury, man.
Seriously.
I just woke up. I'm like, whoa. I'm trying to brush my teeth. My neck is cocked. And
yeah.
Yeah. No, we don't. I'm serious, but I'm not going to dwell on that. I just thought I would, give my athletes some of their own medicine. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, listen, if now we can I'm going to check your training peaks for the next 4 weeks and see if you still mention it.
I mean, it's a damn good excuse.
That's what it is. Yeah, I could tell it's there. It's a little twinge. It's not barely on the radar. It may be 1, maybe 0.5 out of 10. Just enough to recognize, just enough to remind yourself.
Oh,
but it's there.
Man, glad.
If I had to register my aches and pains after every training peak session, I'm not sure. I think the length of my comments would be longer than the length and duration of my session.
I was just trying to think though, because it honestly is a little. It's pretty painful at the wrong time, and I was trying to think of myself, what if this happened the week of Wisconsin? I was trying to think, what if I was racing Chattanooga, right? What would I do?
Mm-hmm.
I would probably be.
You'd full on panic train like everybody else does.
I'd be breaststroke therapy, probably.
it's true. And then bring the road bike because you wouldn't want to be an arrow.
Well, I'm wondering if my road bike might have put me in this predicament.
Oh, man. I'm telling you, man. It's
I'm going to just cruise on my road bike for a while.
Man, I've had that conversation like multiple times a week in the last 2 weeks, like how odd bike positioning and like even going we can talk about that in a little bit. And I think there's some questions in the Q&A, but like I think people will really underestimate the going from the same bike they've ridden that's like pretty solid and set in geometry, and then getting on the off season, like getting on a gravel bike or an e-bike or a mountain bike or a road bike, and like when the geometry's completely different, or you just don't take again, I agree, because cycling's low impact. It's not no impact. It's low impact. But I mean, you put on like different shoes, your cleats are different different place. You got different pedals on. Your seats forward and aft is different. The saddle height might be. Your reach is different. I'm telling you, it's a recipe for not disaster. That's dramatic, but it is a recipe for niggles. And I see it all the time this time of year. And friendly reminder to everybody out there: get new shoes. Get new shoes. If you are like having weird aches and pains, check your shoes. If it has been over 3 months and you've been putting in like long, like race specific miles for like a 70.3 or a full or marathon, get your ass some new shoes, because the shoe that you're going to end up in if you don't get new shoes is called a walking boot or something, or you're going to take time off running. Get some new shoes. I'm not saying you have to track your mileage, but I've always we even had a podcast about this, I think, like years and years and years ago. But if you do like an easy run or a regular run, and you're like, you know what, I'm a little more achy than I feel like I should be, it's time for new shoes. Like, just don't be like, I only get new stuff during race season. That's a recipe for disaster.
Huh. Well, I thought you were talking about bike shoes.
Same thing. I mean, you don't need bike shoes every single year, but no, I mean, like, just be, maybe new insoles, maybe they flattened out a little bit, or, double check your cleats. Like, I had that discussion with a couple athletes for Wisconsin. They have like odd, bike niggles. If you're like clicking, you're getting in and out of your pedals, and a lot of times, and eventually at some point, like that pedal is going to torque depending on how you unclip or get out of your pedals. It's going to slowly rotate and loosen up some of your cleats. And if those even go like the slightest position different, again, quote unquote, people call it no impact because you're not like slamming against concrete. But if you're doing like big gear work and power work, or you're most people that's like to stand up on your pedals, like you're putting a lot of force that's displaced on a different like center of gravity on each of your legs that can cause a little bit of pain. So just something to be careful of. We like to spend a lot of time focusing on some of the finer, more fun things to talk about, when it comes to the sport and how to get better. But again, like the best ability is availability. And a lot of times, like some of this stuff is just an oversight.
Yeah, well, I'm unavailable.
No, I'm available, but you're available today. And that's honestly like what the people appreciate the most. We're doing a little bit of Q&A. We dropped a question in early this morning, so we'll do our best to get through these. Again, we take questions from our closed Facebook group. That's a Crushing Iron group. If you want to search that, we'll let you right in there, as long as you're not an influencer or someone promoting your own brand or a bot. But yeah, pretty much anyone else, like, you're all the way in. That's my favorite thing. Like, hey, love the podcast. First thing is like, hey, come read my blog. This is I'm like, no, this isn't Instagram. Like, if you want to go to Instagram to get some likes and some video reels, like, do that. But yeah, if you want to participate, hop in. First question, Logan Sally. With the transition in my training program from full triathlon to strength and running, what are some compound barbell movements that you like to use the most? And do you think it's reasonable to want to add some mass and speed at the same time? So great question here. I'm sure we'll have a lot of this in the three movements really that I would suggest, maybe even four. I mean, really just basic three, like deadlift, back squat. If you want to get a little bit more, quote unquote, buff up top, bench press and overhead barbell press. Like that's pretty much the standard, like four. That's what I would focus on. Now, is it reasonable to want? I mean, it's your world. If you want it, you can do it. To add mass and speed at the same time, that's something that I would be careful of. Because here's the problem, and this is very typical for pretty much not just triathletes, but athletes and people in general. I want to do it all at the same time. Well, if you want to increase your speed, then you're going to have to be rested enough to go hard enough to then increase the speed in your intervals. So your body can, you can kind of overdo it, and then your body adapts, and then you get faster. If you're doing that, then you're going to need time to recover. At the same time, like if you want to build mass, same thing applies. Like you're not going to be doing like, high reps, low weight. You're going to be doing like supersets or, 3-4 sets of 5. Like, and you're going to need to be well rested for those. Can you increase a little bit? But that's why people periodize things. Like, now I wouldn't try to do both at the same time. And I'd also be like very conscious of how you go about it. I mean, I think, again, most people get this wrong in that they try to do everything at once. And if you're adding muscle, it takes, and again, like that's a happy medium. I think you're going to find, like, if I'm trying to build mass and put on like some muscle and strength, I'm probably just going to do like some aerobic, like pretty easy stuff. If I'm doing speed, I'll do the opposite. But the thing you have to be careful of is obviously like the more muscle weight you put on, the more energy required to move those muscles to then get quicker, get faster, right? Like giant muscle growth isn't a prerequisite for run speed. I mean, look at every great marathon on the planet. They look like if you like blew on them hard enough, they would fall over. So it's like you don't have to be giant to have speed. It's something you have to like periodize and go, 6 to 8 weeks with one and then transition 6 to 8 weeks to another. Now, could you just focus on like upper body and then like leave the leg? Sure. Because you're not, your bench press and your barbell press, that's not going to have too much of an effect. But I've been working with a lot of athletes through this kind of stuff in the last, 3 to 4 months. And it's really, really hard to do both. But again, that's what everybody, it's like when people in the off season, like, yeah, I want to raise my threshold and I want to drop weight. And I'm like, okay, like I get it. But you also understand that like dropping weight a lot of times lowers your threshold, but doesn't necessarily mean you're faster. It's slower, excuse me. Like the heavier you are, the more power you're going to put out. But if you're losing weight, you're probably at a caloric deficit, which is going to make it harder to hit your interval sessions, which is going to be harder to then increase your threshold. But then again, like if you hold at 220 as your threshold, but you drop 6 or 7 pounds, then guess what? Your threshold is now higher because your watts per kilogram is better. So again, like this is one of those things where you have to be really, really intelligent I mean, not overly intelligent, because you never ask for perfection here, but you definitely need to periodize and kind of go through microcycles of what I want to focus on now versus what I want to focus on later, and then you can kind of put them all together down the road.
Yeah, I always find this topic super interesting because we kind of been in and out on it and everything like that over the years. And when you're talking about, I mean, you mentioned marathoners, and I would like to think about top performing professional triathletes and the fastest people. I'm sure there's weights involved. When I think of cycling, for example, you're talking about deadlifts and squats and things like that. I think that's a real good payoff for that type of thing. But I always do wonder about running, because you do see like the best runners. I feel like they're not, probably lifting a ton of weights. I don't know. I really don't know shit, to be honest, about that. But like my thing has always been kind of like those movements, but I like body weight, push-ups and Asian squats and horse stance and, and just different yoga play. And there like maybe some rowing and things like that and push-ups. But, I think it's obviously strength is huge in Ironman. But I always wonder if the great runners of triathlon or Ironman distance and things like that are, hitting the weights hard. I don't know. Is it more like
the answer is no.
I was going to say, I could see how cycling would pay off,
but they don't even either. Like they did a study on this a few years ago. They weren't touching any weights. And so I think that again, like there is evidence that and then we're talking heavy, back in the day when I first got into sport, it was like high reps, low weight, because that mimics endurance sports. But then what they found is that really it needs to be, I mean, some of our earliest podcasts are about this. I mean, like before we even started this podcast, I was in the functional fitness and like training space with strength training. And so, but there are studies that basically it's like, if you want to get better at running and cycling in short effort stuff, not long, short effort stuff, then you do, low reps, high weight. And what it does is it improves economy in short power. Like cycling, it was like 30 seconds to 6 minutes. It wasn't like 20 minutes. And then for running, it was like basically your 5K in 1 mile. Now, if it improves durability and allows you to, and that's where I think a lot of this weaves in for a lot of people is in terms of there's 16 billion definitions for strength training. Some people go to the gym and do some mobility and a few push-ups and a couple barbell curls. They're like, oh yeah, I did some strength training today. Some people it's like supersets for an hour, and some people it's like, light resistance training with bands. Like to me, like if you're adding it in, for training and you're reducing volume or taking volume out of one of the three triathlon buckets, don't take a ton away, but do it for basically just to help with injury prevention. I mean, to me, like 90% of the athletes out there, like if you're going to take time to do strength training, don't do it to quote unquote expect stronger and faster and more powerful gains in swimming, cycling, and running. Do it to help, prevent injuries and be more available. And I think that's, but if you're going to do it right. Like have correct form. And this is something that you see all the time. Like, oh, I'm about to go to the gym, bro, and I'm going to go do some lifts. And you look at them and you're like, why are your nipples facing the ground on a back squat? Like, this is terrible form. Like so if you're going to do it right. If not, you're going to be negating it because you're going to, you pull your lower back, or you're going to, your quads are going to get too sore because they're too weak and your knees going to start to hurt. Like, do it right.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, we've talked about this, you and I think probably off air, but I was thinking about how, football, college football, for example, it seems like players are just always getting injured now, but we talked about how they come in and these strength and conditioning coaches put on like 25 pounds of muscle. And I just feel like their muscle's too strong for their body. If they put it on like in 2 months or 3 months or something like that, and all of a sudden you're, I don't know how that really applies to what we're talking about, but I think about it sometimes as far as like, getting too much muscle mass too quick or something. Is it going to create the injury? Like you were just saying, you definitely want to be available. I mean, the more you can perform and run and do the actual sport that you're doing, I would think the better off you'd be. But I think it's the strength piece to me, and this is where I kind of neglect probably the most, I'm sure most triathletes, is the core, just the basic, kind of chain function of everything, rather than just being like super strong in the quads or something like that.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a good topic. And again, like we should probably in the next weeks devote an episode, just to that. Next question, David Macknett. You guys always give great advice in the podcast. Well, thank you, David. In the typical do as I say, not as I do philosophy, what advice that you I'm gonna take care of this for you, David. I'm gonna clean this up. What advice do you give that you have difficulty following? That's a great question. Mine, if I'm just being totally honest here, not recently, but in the past, mine has been swim 3-4 times a week. That has always been like my do as I say, not as I do thing, because although I have swam like 3 days a week for the last month. But yeah, if I'm going to pick one, I'm all about run frequency. I'm all about doing the things that I say to do in cycling. I'm all about doing the things that I kind of encourage with nutrition and fueling. But yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna come clean and call myself out, it's gonna be the 3 to 4 swims a week, because that is if I'm picking something to kind of put to the wayside and find an excuse for, it's that. Although I was in the pool at 5:15 this morning, so I mean it goes in waves. But yeah, that is definitely the one that I can confidently say that I can be hypocritical about.
How much time we have? Because I have a laundry list.
You got a laundry list.
Yeah,
I mean, give us the high level one, the first one that comes to mind. Well, your most egregious hypocrisy. The
highest level one I'm going through right now. I'm battling. Because I really do believe that after Ironman, I've in the past I really think it's important to take advantage of that day. Not right away. I mean, I've tried to kind of stick myself in there a little early, and I was telling you earlier, I'm pretty fatigued still, I think, and there's been other things going on. But to me, that is the biggest one, I think, is that I do think it's super important, and I am really focused on it this year if I can ever get my back in order. But the fall training, I think that, I've been doing Ironman Wisconsin almost every year for the last 4 years, and that's been my only race. And I kind of typically pick it up sometime, in the spring. And while I do okay, I really do think that you should be on the money from almost a year before your A race. For most of us, I don't think you have to do it that way, but I think if you really want to have your best race, that's the way to do it. Because, I'd like to hit January one of these years, kind of on fire and ready to go. So to me, that's the biggest hypocrisy, I think, that I've done. But that's been open. I've been talking about that for a long time. But, other things, I think sleep is really important. Although I get my naps, but I don't go to sleep at the right times a lot, and I have problems. I'm in and out of that situation. But, I might be able to make a blog post on this.
Yeah, man, we've all
Substack,
got
24-page Substack.
Yeah.
No, but I do believe in what I say usually. It's just hard.
it's applying it. That's the problem, man.
I know.
That's why we're everyday people, man. Candace Taylor, a thought that came across my mind over this weekend's training. When a coach puts in your workouts for the week in TP, does the coach think to themselves, glad I am not having to do this? 100%. I mean, there's a reason I haven't done an Ironman in a decade, because I see what I give all the athletes that I coach, and I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this right now, but you're going to do it. You're going to do great at it, and then you're going to crush it. And that, honestly, that gives me all the finish line feels I need at the moment. But no, in all honesty, sometimes I try to line, sometimes I get jealous. None of the 6-hour rides, but when I see a week and I'm like, man, that is such an undertaking, but the athlete does so well and there's in such a good flow and you're making that kind of time to, accomplish your goals. There's a little bit of, envy in there, but at the same time, 90% of the workouts you get, I've done them. I mean, I've done them over the last 20 years, or or I did half of them and I was like, this is pretty good. Let's make this up. Like, this not, purchased at a triathlete magazine, or, it's just like, hey, I've done this, or I mean, I'd say 100% of the swim workouts I've done. I mean, I did them just like at this pool. This morning I went to the pool and I just make up these workouts as I go. I'm like, this makes sense. This would be good to go home and write it down. But yeah, I mean, when you're in like the thick of it for an Ironman build, yeah, I mean, it feels pretty comfortable to sit here in my PJs and write up your training peaks week. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I can echo that. I think that a lot of times I feel a little bit guilty. I mean, you're looking at some of these weeks, and I know that it's important, but this time earlier this or late in the summer, I was going through the same shit. So then I'm like, okay, I'm doing this, so you guys might have to do more or whatever, not really, but I don't feel as guilty when I'm in it because I feel like I'm up to that level. But sometimes I'll look at this shit and I'll be kind of, maybe not in really good shape at all or something, and say, 3-hour ride this weekend. If you feel like it, go for 7. I'm just saying, I'm kind of, that's not really true either, but I do think about that. I would never, I might do that, but I suppose it's not regular. Yeah, a lot of times I do. But yeah, as you have athletes that are just going to knock out whatever you put in front of them.
Yeah, dude. And then they're
kind of
like,
damn,
that. And you're like,
I'm
man, that must feel
impressed.
good. Yeah. And then I feel like then I feel lazy. I'm like, I didn't do shit.
It is amazing though. Some athletes just kind of, you could just like put anything out there and they'll just knock it out and go, boy, that was a little,
I know. It is wild.
Oops, sorry, that was a mistake. But I'm glad you did it. See, the confidence you built there was outstanding.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Wild Bill Calkins. How about thoughts on non-traditional triathlons and other endurance races, and weaving in ultras to keep things interesting, like Triple T, swim runs, Xterra stuff, marathon swims? Will be cool to hear you guys riff off on the oddities. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep mine short and sweet here.
Okay.
I mean, that's usually a lie, but I think the majority of triathletes would be a lot happier if they wove more of this stuff in. I think it's, maybe 100-mile ultra, you need a little bit more of a focus and it could be a little more difficult. But the other stuff, like I generally think that a huge issue that we have in just society, but even like, going back to youth sports, is that athletes' obsession with over specialization. And I feel like if you want to be super successful as an quote unquote endurance athlete, then you should specialize in not specializing. And you should just try to be the most well-rounded, healthiest, fittest endurance athlete you can possibly be, to where in 6 weeks you can do whatever the hell you want to do, because that's being a badass.
Yeah, well, I work with Bill, and I'll be honest, there's times when I really kind of am intrigued by opening up his training peaks, because I never know what he's going to be doing. I mean, he epitomizes this, really. I mean, it could be, I was just sitting around, so I felt like going, hitting a trail for like 10 miles or what, like just random stuff like that. But he's, he just loves it. And I think at the core of it, you have to find that. I mean, I do that all the time, just in general. And I feel like it's sort of like playing multiple sports in school, right? It's like, it's this whole specialization thing, like too rigid. I think it's just a bad plan. It's like putting all your eggs in one basket and hoping it works out. And when it doesn't, then you kind of look back and go, what am I going to do? So yeah, it's just, I love it. Whatever, you want to do. I still kind of personally have to me, like formal-ish Ironman type shit is sort of my guiding star in a way, but I do have
you need a side piece.
Yeah, exactly. I have inklings to.
You need an endurance sports side piece. Like you got your main squeeze, which is triathlon.
Well,
But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with a little side piece.
I'm a little like it's been tricky. I almost did it this year. The last couple years, I've thought about doing the Schwamagon Fat Tire Festival up in North because I did that one year. It's a 40-mile off-road mountain bike race on the circuit of Lifetime or whatever they bought it now, which I don't know, whatever. But it's the week after Wisconsin, and I'm always just a little bit nervous about that. I know I could do it and pull it off, but I'm, but yeah, so mountain biking for me, and I always think ultra. I don't know about ultra, but trail running for sure. But it's always intriguing. I like all that stuff, man. I do think that it's great to add to your mix. I have a lot of athletes kind of go into trail running and ultras, and they love it, and they come back. It's like, I don't know. Obviously, you don't have to just continually pour Ironmans down your gullet.
No, I mean, I think, and it's so much easier to do than people. That's the thing is like people like, hey, I want to stop training for triathlon, but so I'm just going to stop training for triathlon again because I want to do this. Like, don't over specialize. Just be really, really well rounded. I mean, like Tom Stewart, one of Tom.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've been working with him for like 8 years. I mean, he'll do. I mean, the last 2 years alone, he's done 100K, a 50K, a 70.3, an Olympic, and now he's training for a marathon. And he'll tell you that he's in the best shape he's ever been in his entire life. And we haven't gone single focus in anything. I mean, in terms of like, if he's training for the 100-miler, we still rode and swam. Same thing with this marathon block. We still have a swim session a week, max 2, and we still have one ride, max 2 bikes a week. You keep like, again, if triathlete is your main thing, which a lot of people is like, here's my thing with this. And I think it's a huge topic that a lot of people like struggle with this time of year is if you know that you have, I mean, kind of like, in high school or college where you might have this girl, your guy that you break up with 19 times, but you always get back together with. Like, if that's triathlon for you, then keep that as like your base. Not all in base, but like the core of what you construct. If you're going to go do marathon training, but that you're probably going to come back to triathlon, then don't stop swimming and cycling. Like I don't understand the thought process in that, because then what happens, you come back to it and you're so behind. I mean, swimming and cycling is so great for you across all things. I mean, it's great for aerobic. It's great. It's a full body workout for swimming. It's great aerobic capacity in cycling. You can still work hard. It's great for active recovery, and you're still going to keep some of your stuff, or you can come back and start from scratch. And so I think, like, again, like find what you want as like your base, and then you keep that as kind of like the core outline, and then just remove some swims, remove some bikes, and add a few runs. Like it really is that simple. And and then you can just do whatever you want to focus on, but you want to be like an endurance weapon. Like you don't want to be a one-hit wonder, because when you go all in on that kind of stuff, like the whole, for like 5 years, then you're left kind of like, well, now, like, what do I do? I think that's a huge issue. So I think weaves that stuff in, it makes you learn stuff. You're more flexible. Like as much as Hayden wants to play hockey year round, like in the last year and a half, he's played baseball, he's playing summer league, and now he's doing like pickup basketball while he has hockey. And, so like there's things that important to like always have other stuff in there. One, just to keep things fun, but you also learn a lot of stuff. And you learn how your body moves, and you learn, different things. So yeah, the biggest thing though, I think keeping you mentally fresh. So yeah, I think it's important to add those things in, and I think most people would be better off weaving them in more often than just like, again, trying to go from, well, I don't want to be I want to be a trail runner. And like, well, now you're just having an identity crisis. Like you've done this like a few times the last 5 years. When you're going to come back, let's just do some trail races, but let's still swim and bike. Or remove all swimming if you want to for a couple months, and just ride. So you just got to listen to the athlete and pay attention, but also, get them to recognize that, hey, like the comeback is not super easy. So you want to keep some semblance of fitness across, all those three, so you're not starting over from scratch.
Basketball and hockey, huh? That to me is the rarest combination.
Yeah,
for
it's
a high
not.
school
Well, I
guy.
mean, I can just tell you right now, like I'm not investing any time in basketball.
I've never met nothing. Maybe Hayden's got the skills. I've just never met someone that's a serious hockey player that's actually a good basketball player.
Oh no, he's terrible. I mean, he's this is a total social thing. Yeah, I mean, he runs up and down the court, and I'm like, that's conditioning. That's conditioning. Like, funny story for the hockey parent. I think I told you this, but this is like an 8-game season with 8 practices, like total social. He's like, I want to do. I'm like, yeah, fine, whatever. It's good, keeps him fun, keeps having a good time. Well, I mean, I haven't spent any time talking through like basketball. Here are the rules. Here's what you do. I'm just like, let these dads take care of it. And the first possession, he's on the court. His team gets a rebound. He sprints down the other end and puts on the brakes like you've never seen at half court. Waits for his team to come up and then goes. And after the game, I'm like, yeah, he thought it was gonna be offsides. Yeah, I was like, after the game, I was like, did you think there was offsides in basketball? He's like, yeah, I did for a second, but then I realized there wasn't. I was like, yeah, I'm probably the only person that recognized that, because none of the other like parents know anything about hockey. Obviously they're there for basketball, but yeah, that was just like a funny little side story. I was like, yeah, there is no offsides. Just get your butt back down the court. Let's see. Jason Borderland says, any last minute tips for Chattanooga? We'll cover that Thursday. We'll do a short little dig on Chattanooga. We obviously know that town, really well in the race. We'll also do that on Thursday. Sean Sanford, from a first-time Ironman finisher, how can I resist wanting to capitalize on the fitness gain from not only the training, but the race itself, while minimizing the risk of further muscle breakdown from the Ironman race? Focus more on swimming and cycling, all easy stuff. My body actually feels pretty great. Been hearing from multiple people that I need to chill and that there is so much more muscle breakdown that occurs that I may not be necessarily feeling. I mean, I feel like I should just toss this one to you.
Well, I mean, yeah, the way he looked this year, I think he probably could just start getting right back into it. But I was just talking to you about, but I am, 61, and how old is Sean? Like 20? No,
he's like 23 max.
But yeah, so for me, there is a deep fatigue that I think maybe we don't realize. I mean, the way I think it matters how you trained up to it. I kind of like, running the lowest end of possible training usually, and then the race knocks me out. And I was telling you before that I feel it. So I just think it's something you have to respect, but you kind of maybe want to toy with. You could feel fine right now, to be honest. For me, it's also a mental thing that I get mentally tired after Ironman for a few weeks, and inspirationally I'm not quite there, but I don't know. I think, like I said, I'm getting a little bit older. I think there is something to be said about recovering a little bit longer or easier or something like that, but. Man, I would definitely, if you're feeling good, you don't have to go hard right now, but like just give it a little time, sort of roll back into it and keep it going, because you had a great race, and if you're feeling good about training and you're mentally wanting to go, I would stick around and at least do something like we were talking about. Maybe it's just running right now or something, or a little bit of cycling here and there, and whatever you're feeling, I would capitalize on it. I mean, swimming, but I think I'd really more be about cycling. And
it really just depends. Like you said, it really depends on how you're recovering and where your mindset is. And then if I'm going to capitalize, quote unquote, capitalize on it, I'm gonna reduce volume like way down.
Right. Yeah. For sure. Volume.
I mean, I'd cut volume in half and just like put in some intensity and take 2 days off a week. I mean, to me, it's the mental piece. I mean, I know you're on cloud 9 because you knocked out a first Ironman in a really amazing time and you're feeling it. I know this is because I'm your coach, but like I tell people all the time, like most of the time I tell people to slow the fuck down in the first 3 weeks after Ironman, then speed back up.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, take some time off. Like, take a chill pill, relax. Like, detraining is important because you can't you can't get to another level unless you let your body and your mind completely rest. And because the thing here is like, you're not just recovering from the race, you're recovering from the giant build that you did leading into it.
Yeah.
And I think that's just an important thing to remember. But yeah, I mean, I would chill out and take things easy. And I mean, that's why I haven't been giving you crap the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I got to also say that there's something to be said for, because I remember this feeling, how high you can feel off of that, especially your first one, you have a good race like that. And I think that can almost be misleading a little bit, because I think what I remember is the first couple of weeks, not like I was jumping back into working out, but I do remember we did that half like 4 weeks after, and at Goose Pond.
There wasn't no weight, dude. I was drinking. And
that's right. You did the swim the suck the day before.
Yeah, I did swim the suck, the 10-mile swim. Yeah.
And it's like, dude, what the hell you look like what the hell you just been through? But yeah, so I literally think that was 4 weeks, and I did not do one thing between that race. And I had a good race. It was a half. I don't know why on earth I didn't want to do it, but got through it and had a pretty good race. But I never did one thing. I wouldn't recommend that either necessarily. But I do think that, I would play it cautious, because you might feel like super high right now and feel good and want to get ripping. But like I said, I'm doing a whole year of thinking about next year, and you don't want to kind of go in too hard and get burnt out, because the last thing you want to do is fall apart in November, December, and January now. So just ease back in. There's plenty of time.
Bide your time, man. Just bide your time. All right, let's see. What was the next one? From Iona. I hate how freaking you're looking at Facebook and you're just looking at a question, then it reorders everything that you're looking at.
It's for your own good, man. The algorithm, they do it for you.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's all for the good. I'll go back to this once I can find it. From Gene Bacon. What changes would you make what changes would you suggest in training for a 65-plus-year-old athlete, definitely slowing down but not ready to give up? Well, I mean, I don't know what you do currently, so I can't really tell you what to change. Having said that, people age at a very different rate and in very different ways. Obviously, like maintaining and keeping muscle and bone density is huge, really at any time you get past like 45, 50, especially for females. But I also think that like one of the biggest issues I see, and I know this from like personal experience coaching some older athletes, male and especially some females this year who are faster than they have been in 10 or 15 years, is you can't listen to what a lot of people tell you to do, which is take it really easy. You're old. To me, that is just not like, yeah, you need to take it easy sometimes, just like the rest of us do. But a lot of times, like you're breaking down and losing so much at a lot quicker rate. Like if you don't go hard and you don't, again, not every day, but if you don't weave in more intensity, then you're going to get worse off. I mean, like your main goal should be to like keep my, VO2 max as high as I can, as long as I can. And so I think that's just one of those things where, most athletes, as they get older, think that they now become fragile. And a lot of that is just like what you're choosing to do to stay sturdy. And instead of, and that's just like, again, like a lot of times you become fragile because you think that you're fragile, so you don't do things to harden yourself up. And I think that, and this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, so like strength training, do some hard workouts, probably mostly on the bike, swim hard, do occasional, harder run. Like these are all things that you should be doing. But again, like you see this with, a lot of people, it's more about like, how do you feel, not how old you are, what do I need to do? And I think that's just like a really important thing for every athlete, male or female. Like, yeah, because you get older doesn't mean you should treat yourself like a pillow. I mean, I see it all the time, and I'm like, listen, I don't care that you're old. Like you're fitter than most 30-year-olds. So you want to just like, and then you wonder why you can, like, you just start purging time and getting slower. A lot of times it's not because of your ability or your fitness, it's because you choose to start treating yourself like a senior citizen. And if you want to treat yourself like a senior citizen, then it's time to, show up to dinner at 4:30, which again, nothing wrong with that. I do the same thing. But it's time to, and start playing bingo at 10 and go to Burger King and get your 39-cent coffee. But if you don't want to treat yourself like a senior citizen and you want to stay active, you want to get better and be healthy for yourself, then push yourself a little bit. Like, just because you're old doesn't mean that you can't work hard and you can't push yourself. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Again, having, you and I both work with a lot of older athletes, and it just, I think a lot of times they get too caught up in the, I got to go slow because I'm getting older. I'm like, no, you're slowing down at a rapid rate because you're going too slow all the time. And yeah, and again, like, stop using age as an excuse. Not that you are, but I'm just saying, like, this is to the masses.
Yeah. Well, of course I have some thoughts on that. I totally agree with that. And I think the trick sometimes is to, we, depending on what kind of fitness we have or how strong we feel and stuff like that as we're training, I mean, you need muscle and you need, good bone density and all these other things to actually push yourself. And I just think it is a gradual thing. I think that's how I got into this run walk, because I was trying to continue running and it was just wearing me out so I would just mix these things in and I could go a little bit faster during my run segments and then I'd recover in the walk. So my overall, heart rate push wasn't too high, but I was still pushing myself a little bit. That's the way I've kind of, sort of this micro bites of intensity is like how I pull it off or pick it off. I don't know if it's necessarily right or anything like that, but I do, like I said, do a ton of body weight strength type stuff. I will push myself hard on the bike. I went through this season erring on the side of aerobic base because I just thought, well, I never really do that. And I wanted to do it. So now I'm actually excited to do what you're talking about, is kind of get a little bit more into the speed and the strength of things, because I know I got it in me, but I just sometimes, I think it's just natural to be cautious because, you start pushing yourself in the middle of nowhere after not really doing it for a while, and, injuries or soreness and things like that, because those are the struggles. I guess we all have those, but, I do a lot of treadmill incline walking. I think things like that have been super important to my training this year. I'll swim open water and I'll take breaks, and I don't know. I just think it's you do it smart, but like be slow with your ramps, because it is something you don't want to be injured all the time or feeling sore and stuff like that. But yeah, man, you got to get up there and push yourself, because that's the one thing I noticed this year, is that I felt really strong, but I just didn't have a high ceiling. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want back.
Yeah. I mean, it brings up a great point. I think, again, like, people, you should, it's no different, right? Like, if you're an athlete and you're in your 40s and you do a session that's super hard, it shouldn't take you 2 full days to feel normal again. Mm-hmm. Same thing if you're 65, like, just don't overdo it. But at the same time, like, a lot of people would be like, some people are 65 plus are retired with no kids in the house, just chilling like a villain all day long. You can nap twice, you can train, you can arguably handle more stress than a 45-year-old who's married, got 6 kids and a travel job. So, like, again, like, you have more needs, right? But a lot of times you have more opportunity to do these recovery things. But it's the same thing applies. Like, do a hard workout. It shouldn't take you more than 2 days to respond to it.
Yeah. I don't know, like, this fall, and I still feel, even at my age, much better after what I would probably consider almost like a HIIT bike workout than a hour easy or 2 hour. I just feel amazing. 45 minutes, just go blast it a little bit and then get off and I'm done. And I feel amazing. I think that, same with doing, like, these Moneghetti running or something like that. Whenever I get into that flow and I'm going to go for this right now. And I just feel better when I push myself a little bit more, but you have to be capable.
Yeah, no, here's the thing is, most people's like ceiling, like their VO2 max, like it gets lower because you're afraid to hit it. And then it gets lower and it just decreases, and then you just lose fitness, and it's even worse to hit it. So just stop ignoring this kind of stuff. Iona says, how can you tell when it may be time to take a break from one sport or even triathlon as a whole to recharge? Taking a break last year due to external circumstances was great for me, but I didn't really know that I needed it. How can I tell next time? Well, you're actually like a giant success story that I should probably share. That we've been working together, God, I don't know, maybe 5 years now. And she lives in Sweden, does an insanely good job of just kind of, again, like I talked about, not specializing and not specializing. She'll do tons and tons and tons of cross country skiing over the winter and fall with a little bit of bike and run mixed in. A lot of times like zero swimming. And then like when the weather turns and you feel more outside, like added a couple runs in. And like we also went through a period where it was not a lot of triathlon, but just about, like just a little bit of yoga and meditation and some running here and some cycling here. And then it was, hey, I'm liking this again. Let's just do this. And then went out and just like demolished a 70.3 and PR time. And I think, you want to say, how can I tell next time? And I'm like, I think you do. There's no way to predict it. There's no like one true sign, but I think that you did an amazing job, especially the last 2 years of letting go and walking away, but not saying goodbye. And I think a lot of athletes get stuck, kind of going back to the first question we had, is like a lot of athletes get stuck feeling like they have to say goodbye or be all in. And there's nothing wrong with dabbling, right? Like cross country skied a ton and did some meditation and like a yoga, like a little bit of running, and then added in cycling. And that's something like, oh, I kind of like this. Like, I think people go way too all in too quick. And then it's like, no, I don't like this. It's like, trying a new meal for the first time. Like, you don't just swallow the whole thing. You like take a little bit of a bite and you're like, yeah, I kind of like that. Or maybe eat more. Or you're like, that's not for me. I'll pass. Like you don't just shovel the whole thing in your mouth. Like, and that's what people do with training. They go all into all these things because that's the mentality we have as humans. It's like, we just go all in, baby, and nothing else. I'm like, that's a real quick way to burn the hell out. And so I don't know that there's like a set way to know. I just think showing yourself grace and also understanding that it's also okay to not to want to do something at some point doesn't make you. And again, that's why I think it's so important to consider yourself as an endurance athlete than just a triathlete, because then you're just a walking identity crisis sometimes. Like, I hate swimming, but what do I do? It's like, well, then just run and bike for a bit until you maybe want to swim again, or maybe you don't. Maybe you end up dropping the bike some, but you like it for cross training. Like, here's the thing, guys. Like, you can swim, bike, and run and not race it. Yeah, I said that. You could swim, bike, and run and not race it. I mean, I see this all the time, and I mean, you're the same way. Like, I've got loads and loads of athletes that probably haven't raced in 2 years. They just want to be the healthiest, best versions of themselves so they can have live the best, healthiest, mentally and emotionally, well off life that's possible. And some months or years that might mean running and strength. Some months and years that might be triathlon. Sometimes it might be just running and swimming. Sometimes it just might be cycling and running. Like, it's all about like, again, like what you're feeling and what makes you happy. Because if you're happy and excited to do it, then you do it. If you're not happy and excited to do it, then you don't do it. And that makes you worse at everything. And so again, like I know people are so wound up on getting, I have to have this for a race. I'm like, yeah, or you could just like do it to be like really feel good and feel better about yourself and feel better off and feel healthier and feel motivated. And guess what? If you're healthy and you're motivated and you have energy and you're sleeping well and you feel good about yourself, guess what? You're probably pretty likely to sign up for a race and want to feel good and want to see what happens. If you're not any of those things, then why would you want to sign up for a race? It might go terrible. You might feel horrible. And I just think, every person, especially this time of year, when they think about how much you go all in, a lot of times the more you go all in, you go the same amount all the way out. And I just think, again, we should all be pretty happy at our core, feeling good, hoping you feel like you look good, you're healthy, you're sleeping well, you're recovering well, you just feel like you're operating on a different level. And then you would be if you were just being sedentary and lazy and treating yourself like a carnival ride. If you want to race, race. If you don't want to race, don't. But I mean, performance itself is, I think, how you perform from the time you wake up, from the time you go to bed. And even, or you could argue throughout the night. Are you a great sleeper? If not, scale it back. You're not performing well. Because if you're not sleeping well, you're not performing at your highest level. To me, again, that's, we lose sight in performance, and you got all these people that we, follow and talk about, and most of these quote unquote high performing athletes that are obsessed about performance would just readily tell you, yeah, dude, I completely know that what I'm doing right now is not the best long term. I mean, you look at these, look at a freaking NFL running back. Their average is 3 years, and in the next 10 or 15 years, they probably can't think for themselves and they can barely walk. But they're giving it up for the limelight right now. Or just like you said, these college kids that come in, and it's funny, he thinks, I was just in the same conversation. He's like, why do they get hurt so much? And I'm like, you would think with all the science and nutrition and fueling and strength and conditioning coaches that all these guys have to, basically round the clock and all these devices they stick themselves, they wouldn't get hurt every other play. But they're just worried about, what can I do right now to get out of this? But performance is what is, to me, performance is how you feel, and the average baseline of how you feel for a 90 to 120 day span. I mean, that should make you feel good. Remember that it's, you need to improve your aerobic capacity and improve your fat oxidation, and to be healthier and have better metabolic flexibility. Then lean into that. I know it's boring, but man, it feels good. And man, you're going to start to feel some really huge energy gains. If you need to raise your ceiling, right, your VO2 max, you've neglected it and you haven't done it because it's too hard, or I think I'm too frail, then hit it, because having a high VO2 max is also a great thing for you. And so, yeah, I mean, I think everyone has different warning signs. And I think you particularly, as you're going to ask a question, you do a pretty good job of recognizing it. And I think generally, walking away from a certain focused sport a week or two early, and scaling back on one of those ones is a lot better than staying 2 weeks past, and overstaying your welcome, because then you just feel, forced. So I think, again, everyone has their own cues, but I think the obsessive, and that's why I think it's so great. There's so many different endurance style sports right now that encompass so many different things, because it gets more people into the space, and then that allows people to make these lateral moves within the space. And I think it's just good for us as humans, and especially for older adults that are kind of limited in the ability we have to, and the time to play organized team sports, is to have these things that are available that we can kind of make lateral moves to, still be involved in the community, and still be the best version of ourselves that we can.
Yeah. The other day I was writing about, I just do a lot of freestyle writing. And one of the things I was prompted on was trying to remember my earliest memory and what I would do for, just naturally. And, I can't remember, it was maybe 4 or 5 years old or whatever. And the word that came to me was movement. I would always seek movement. That was my happy place, just naturally, As a child, left to my own devices, what would I want to do? I was always making up games, running around in the field, creating fake obstacle courses or different challenges, or having buddies come, whatever. But that was my thing. And then I realized, because the reason I was doing it was kind of well, what do I want to, what is my thing now? But I think it's still the same. It's movement, right? And so I always think about, how can I do this for as long as possible? And to me, that is almost sometimes sitting with yourself in silence and letting that come out, in this case, what is it today? I don't know. But I just love what you're saying about how, triathlon is sort of there, and, you can supplement, complement, do all these other things, but kind of keep it in the game. And I mean, that's what we're here for. We have a podcast about triathlon, but it doesn't mean it has to be so focused. I just think about these guys, man, these football players that just nowadays it is so specialized. We got all this science, we got all this lifting, and it's like they're doing it year round. And you wonder how they, why they're burned out, or they may not give it all, or they're getting injured and not as invested in certain programs and want to go and, change up all the time. I don't know how these people do it. These kids go one sport all year and lift and just go crazy. And I think it's sort of, it's putting all the eggs in the basket of, this guy can squat, 600 pounds, but can he move to his, you know what I mean? It's sort of like, so I think there's a little bit of that in triathlon. And I always talk about be a swimmer, think like a swimmer, think like a runner, think like a cyclist. And to me, that's all a big part of that is flow. It's not just strength all the time. I mean, there's people out there that probably can't squat anything that can ride you under the table. You know what I mean? Mm. So what is it?
Yeah. And if we'll move on to the next question in a second, but it's like, it's okay to like you said, movement is medicine, or motion is lotion, like all these things, like these are all true. They're great for us. And a lot of times, like the event stuff is for our mind more than it is for our body. Not that doing anything for your mind is bad, because it's not, but like, I can't imagine, like if I'm rolling around the neighborhood and I pull up to a stop sign and there's like Hayden's like always riding his bike and just a crap ton. And I'm like, hey man, what are you doing? You training for something? No, he's just 9 and likes to go ride his bike and exercise and feels good.
Right.
Like, like that, like, hey man, where's your gels? Like you got IM coming up? No, I'm just a kid that likes to ride his bike and have a good time. Like it's okay to do that and get better and or even do it a couple days a week and then be structured the rest of the time. I mean, that was like what I told a lot of my post Ironman Wisconsin athletes this week. I was like, I got kind of a return to sport, if you will, week laid out to you, but just look at it as a menu. Do what you want, when you want, how you want. And you still got structure there. You still got a good menu, right? But feel it out, and own it. And I just think that, again, like, we listen, again, going all in and over specializing is just, it creates problematic and identity crisis. Benita Dimick, how do you know when it's time to switch from purchased Training Peaks plan to working with a coach? What is the biggest advantage to a coach?
Now is the time.
She said now is the time.
That's how
I purchased Training Peaks plan. You're probably just as good as like going on to Chat GPT and being like, hey, what should I do today? And it's honestly like, I think a lot of people do that now, which is wild. But year one, if you have a coach, you don't train alone. And I think, outside of like the performance gains you'll see by someone else looking after your training, the feedback that I think you and I both get the most frequently is like, I'm amazed at how much less stress I have with a coach, because they're making the plan, they're making adjustments, they tell me when I need to take a day off, they know how to schedule things. Here's the thing: is even if you have you purchase like a 16 or 20 week training plan, chances are after 3 or 4 days it's already done. You had to change something, and now it's going to be, it's like, to me, like the training plans online that are just static and you buy 20 weeks is like lining up, dominoes for, 20 weeks are dominoes. Well, as soon as like a few dominoes don't fall or they fall too early, then a lot of times like you're like, well, how do I get to the other ones that are already scheduled? Because these have already fallen, or I missed these. And now there's this giant gap, but you can't get to one without getting the other. And so, again, like I think a lot of times people say it's just the lack of stress. Like you don't have to think about what training to do or what training not. I think that's the biggest thing. Sometimes it's just like what not to do, and when not to do it, and having somebody tell you that and to bounce ideas back off of. But if you aren't hitting your, it's, again, it's different for everybody. But that's usually like a big positive people say is just the amount of stress that's taken off their plate by not having to do guesswork anymore, trying to read a plan and then apply a plan and then move around a plan. And if you do, like, as soon as you move it, it's no longer ideal. And that's just, that's why they're also super cheap.
Yeah. And I think it can work for, some people sometimes, and I don't know, some people just have it, but it's kind of a little bit, I always think about it sort of as like, reading a book or getting to talk to the author in a sense, or it's sort of like this, what were you thinking when you wrote that or whatever. But I always also, and I don't know everything, but I can help, almost like a therapy session or something, I try to help athletes really find what their thing is and how to, understand what they really want. Cause I guess we've seen so many athletes go through this and go all the way to successful races, hundreds of times. And I think we can help save time too, cause there's so many, options and different ideas and thoughts out there. There's a million things. And, I feel like helping cut through cut the process, down a little bit, or save you the time, and then just basically support and kind of reassurance and confidence building. That's sort of how I look at it. Cause you do it too. I mean, we look at it and we can say, okay, this person's ready, and they might not believe it yet. So I'd like to help them believe it, and help them understand what they're capable of, and, lift them up. That's a big part of what I like to do.
Love that.
Dude,
I'm gonna try to make. Okay. Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to look and see if there's anything I can answer quickly in the problems. Rob Ziminek. Hey, Robbie, started reading the book Comfort Crisis after I heard you mention last week. Love the suggestion. Any other triathlon life-related books you guys recommend? Trevin Cowman. Obstacles Away in the Daily Stoic. You don't know me. But yeah, those two are awesome. I think I got pretty much through the majority of these today. So yeah, I mean, again, I've had this conversation even like just a couple of days ago locally with another athlete that was like, yeah, a lot of people, because another one of the questions like down below was from an athlete kind of getting back into things after having her baby, and like the qualities that people have and like their return to sport, returning to sport after like an injury or like a pregnancy and a new kid or something else is a lot different than just like willfully taking time off. And I mean, I think that says on a comment in the Facebook group, I think yesterday, was that people have all these questions about, taking time off and doing this, but it's, use a podcast for an example, or even like coaching. If I take a week off coaching, I feel so disconnected. It feels like 6 months. Mm-hmm. We don't do a podcast for a week and it feels like it's been 8 months since we've done it. The majority of the people that we work with on a year-round basis. Doesn't mean you train for a triathlon, you take it seriously, for 12 months out of the year. You just change the focus. But the amount of time that you save and the amount of, like, again, like a lot of people will stop training in like, late October, November, December, I'll get back in January. And I'm like, I get that. I get the need for a break 100%. Coach is going to give you that break too. But, I think the biggest thing you see is most people are just, you're thinking of a short term, maybe, I don't know what the benefit is, financial, I guess, but the cost in the return is so much greater, especially during like the holiday months when people are more likely to not get anything done focused, not have any clear direction, and eat like shit. I mean, arguably, to be honest, October through April, May is when more people should actually need a coach versus not. Because the wintertime is the hardest time for most athletes to stay structured, stay on task, and do the right things, take care of their body. You're stuck inside. People have seasonal depression. There's many opportunities. There's, all kinds of, not tailgates, but like, most people put on weight during the winter, most time lose in the summer. It's more fun. It's light outside. There's more things to do. People feel, and you're further from race day, right? Think about it. Like this, the closer you get to race day, you got a little bit of, more pep in your step. Feels better outside. I'm closer. I'm in the zone. The farther you are away, the more lost you can get. And I just think that's something people need to think about this time of year when they're like, yeah, I just want to take a break. I'm like, well, all for taking a break from like structured training. Love that. And we do that. But a lot of times then they come back January, February, March, and like, God, like they stress the hell out because like, I feel so behind. I'm like, well, I mean, you are behind. And you're maybe not behind, right? Because you just kind of are where you are. But yes, you aren't as far along as you could be if you had just stayed active or stayed, a little bit, on the path with, whatever is trying to focus on for the year over October, November, December. And you do that and it's so much less stressful because you're already on the path. That's why January 1st goals never happen. You go from being lazy, unorganized, unscheduled, and not motivated to wanting to be all that overnight. And then you wonder why you can't adhere to a routine and a schedule and a goal. It's because the past 60, 90 days, you've been practicing the exact opposite. Like just be even, hang out in the middle, do a few things, and you'll be all set.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And it's a little bit of an accountability factor. Hey, because it's like, I'm not going to, if you're not just nailing every workout for the whole fall, it's like, it's okay to be okay with that and be, just so we'll support that and understand it, but we're still around, I don't know. That's a long time to be apart.
It's a long time to be apart.
Yeah, forget who you are. I'm just kidding.
I love it, man. It's yeah, dude. It's like,
man, we lost our rhythm.
Yeah, and I tell, and I mean, like, we'll cut it off, but like I tell Hayden this all the time, like because he does, like, not specializing, but he loves hockey so much and wants to be so good at it that like over the spring, which is like their off season, like when a lot of kids that have been playing since they were like, been on skates since they were like 2 or 3, like because skating is so hard to pick up. Like these kids have been skating since they were 2 or 3 years old, and they have such an advantage. He didn't pick it up till he was 6, and he has just fallen in love with it. And he busted his ass over the spring when, spring hockey isn't anything close to what fall and winter hockey is. Most kids do like, completely different sport. And he did, spring hockey, and he did camps all summer. And he came back when they started back, and the ice director where he plays kind of pulled me aside and he was like, hey man, I just wanted you to know that like Hayden looks impressive. And I'm not the only one noticing it. And that's not to say like about Hayden and his hockey. It's to say like, if you are trying to make like a leap or a jump, or you want to really push ahead, then when everyone else is being lazy and not doing anything, that's your chance. Right? You don't have to do that every summer.
Point, man.
Right? It's like that this is your opportunity. And I told him that, if there were some days where he was like, I don't want to go. I'm like, I get it. Like, I know, if you don't want to go, sometimes we got to be committed and be very mindful not to like burn him out. And that was me with swimming. But I was like, just think like this extra hour, 2 or 2 hours here, you're gaining these hours back that you missed that these people had an edge on you. And now he's gone back, and now he's skating, as well, if not better than a lot of these kids who've been skating, because they again, not they don't do it year round and they're not as, good, but like he just put in a lot of extra work this spring to make up for some time that he didn't have, but also to kind of like raise his game to a different level when other kids were letting it drop. And I just think that, again, like he won't do that every year, but at his age, he was like, I want to do it. I want to do that this summer. I'm like, all right. And so we did. We busted our butt, and he busted his butt, and he's reaping the rewards. And so like, if you want to make a breakthrough in something, you can't keep doing the same stuff that got you to where you are. You have to focus on doing things when you haven't done them before, or how you haven't done them before. And then if you're trying to make a certain thing or beat a certain person or get on a certain podium or break a certain time threshold, then you can't keep doing the same shit over and over again, expecting a different result. Take this time. And, it's like that famous Lance Armstrong poster when he was like, these Tour de France were won in January and February. not in when people are taking their time off. So just something to think about, as you're, trying to figure out the rest of your phase of your plan. It's a great opportunity to, again, not overdo it and not be overly structured, but it is a great opportunity for those that see the opportunity and want the opportunity to get ahead.
Yeah. What are you doing when nobody's paying attention?
I'm watching college football and eating Cheetos.
Exactly. All is your opportunity. I'm sure you got Hayden on rollerblades, right?
Oh, dude, he rollerblades. He does. Yeah,
okay,
man.
Good.
It's either that, or it's either rollerblading or he just goes out and ride. I mean, he loves riding his bike so much it's just activity. Just go out and be active. You want to go to stick and puck where they just like go out on the ice with just their hockey stick and their puck and they just dick around for an hour and try trick shots? Go for it.
You got to get him back in baseball, man. That's the hand-eye coordination, man.
That's not
the
gonna
crossover.
Happen, dude. It's not gonna happen. His parents are the problem. It's not gonna happen.
Well, they play so damn much, these kids, man.
That's the thing. Like, no offense, but I don't want to go to a game that starts at 8:30 for my 9-year-old.
Ridiculous.
It's so stupid, dude. I'm like, and you wonder why kids stop these. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Sorry, I'm out.
It's a lot, man.
It is. Well, and this podcast has been a lot. We're pushing overtime today. That's all we got. We love you guys. We do appreciate you. We'll see you on Thursday. As always, go to our website, c26triathlon.com, and is our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. If you need anything from Mike, he's available. Mike at c26triathlon.com. If you need anything from me, Robbie at c26triathlon.com.
All right. That'll do it for today.
Man.
Record. I think we might have. See, we're taking the off season seriously.
Seriously, this is our long ride for the week, baby. We'll see you Thursday.
All right, man. See you.